My name is Marie, and I'm 58 years old. Life deals unexpected cards even after running a successful business for decades. After adopting Amanda at 7, I raised her with everything I had. When temporary financial troubles hit, the unthinkable happened. My daughter, the same girl I'd tucked in at night for years, legally cut ties with me thinking my money was gone forever. I said nothing as she walked away. 5 days later, my fortune returned in full. Before I share this journey of heartbreak and redemption, let me know where you're watching from. In the comments, hit that like and subscribe button, and prepare for a story that might make you rethink what family truly means. I never planned on being a mother. My early days in Seattle were consumed with ambition, fueled by caffeine and a drive to make something of myself in the tech industry. The 1990s were booming, and I rode that wave with everything I had. By 30, I had my own company creating software solutions for businesses when most people were still figuring out how to use email. My calendar was filled with meetings, my mind with codes and projections, not bedtime stories and lunchboxes. The realization that I couldn't have biological children came during a routine medical exam. At 35, I sat in a sterile doctor's office as my world shifted. I had built wealth, security, success, but suddenly, none of it seemed to matter. For weeks, I buried myself in work, ignoring the hollow feeling growing inside me. It was my assistant Janet who finally left an adoption agency brochure on my desk with a simple note, "Just think about it." Initially, I tucked it away, but found myself retrieving it late one night while working alone in my office. Something about the smiling children on the cover broke through my carefully constructed walls. 3 months later, I walked into Seattle Child Services terrified but determined. The social worker Barbara guided me through the process with kindness. Single mothers can provide wonderful homes, she assured me, though I could sense her uncertainty about my demanding career. When I first met Amanda, she was sitting alone in the corner of the playroom, drawing intensely while other children played around her. 7 years old, with dark hair falling over her face, completely absorbed in her art. Barbara whispered her tragic story: parents lost in a highway accident when she was 3 years, bouncing between foster homes. She rarely speaks to adults, Barbara warned. Doesn't trust easily. I approached cautiously and sat beside her, not speaking immediately. Her drawing showed a small house with a disproportionately large summer sun above it. "That's beautiful," I said finally. "The sun looks so warm." She didn't look up, but replied softly, "It's so the house isn't cold at night." Something in her voice cracked my heart open. Within that simple sentence was a child who had experienced too much darkness too early. By the end of that first meeting, she had cautiously shown me 3 more drawings, and I knew with absolute certainty that this was my daughter. The adoption process was rigorous. My home was inspected. My finances scrutinized, my personal life examined. I reduced my working hours, renovated my downtown penthouse to include a perfect bedroom for Amanda Walls, the pale yellow she had mentioned liking a window seat for reading art supplies, arranged meticulously on a small desk. The day I brought her home, she carried a small backpack containing everything she owned. "Is this really all mine?" she asked when I showed her the room, her voice barely audible. "All yours," I promised. "And I'm all yours too, if you want." Those first months tested us both. I learned that business meetings were nothing compared to the challenge of coaxing a traumatized child to trust again. Amanda had nightmares. She hoarded food in her closet. She flinched at sudden movements. I read every book on adoption trauma I could find, consulted child psychologists, joined support groups for adoptive parents. Gradually, the walls came down. Our breakthrough came 6 months after the adoption. Amanda had a particularly terrible nightmare, and I rushed to her room, finding her sobbing uncontrollably. As I held her, she clung to me with desperate intensity. "I'm not going anywhere," I whispered. "I promise." "Everyone leaves," she cried. Not me, never. The next morning she called me Mom for the first time. The word hung in the air between us, precious and fragile. I had closed million-dollar deals without batting an eye, but that single syllable brought me to tears. I restructured my entire business to accommodate motherhood. Board meetings were scheduled during school hours. I installed a small art studio adjacent to my office where Amanda could come after school. My executive team adjusted to seeing a small, dark-haired girl wandering the hallways, sketchbook in hand. My wealth allowed me to give Amanda everything the best private school in Seattle art lessons, with renowned instructors, summer programs abroad. I wanted to heal every hurt, fill every void. Perhaps I overcompensated. When teachers mentioned her artistic talent, I hired specialized tutors. When she admired a painting at a museum, I sought out similar works for our home. Through it all, I established trust funds, investment accounts, legal protections. I wanted Amanda to always feel secure, to never experience the lack I had known in my own childhood. By her 10th birthday, her financial future was guaranteed regardless of what happened to me or my company. Those early years built the foundation of our relationship, my determination to provide stability meeting her cautious acceptance of permanence. I thought we were unbreakable. I was wrong. As Amanda entered her teenage years, our relationship faced new challenges. The sweet, grateful child became a moody adolescent, testing boundaries. Her artistic talents flourished, but so did her independence. I navigated this new terrain cautiously, trying to balance guidance with freedom. "You treat me like a little kid," she complained when I questioned her about staying out late with new friends. "I treat you like my kid," I corrected. "There's a difference." Despite typical teenage friction, we maintained a strong connection. Amanda's art teachers raved about her potential, and when she was accepted to Westlake Academy for Arts at 15, I beamed with pride during the parent orientation. The other parents assumed I was just another mother until the headmaster greeted me by name, aware of my substantial donation to their new gallery. "Your mom's kind of a big deal, huh?" I overheard a student whisper to Amanda. She rolled her eyes, but smiled. "She's okay, I guess." Our lifestyle was undeniably privileged. Our main residence remained the Seattle penthouse, but I had purchased a lake house for weekends and a small villa in Italy where we spent summers. Amanda studied with masters in Florence, painted coastal scenes in Positano. We flew, first class, stayed in luxury hotels, never checked price tags. You need to understand the value of money. I told her during her 16th birthday dinner after she casually mentioned a classmate's new sports car. "Says the woman who just bought me a limited edition professional art set that cost more than some cars," she teased. "That's an investment in your talent. Different." I tried to instill financial responsibility despite our wealth. Amanda had an allowance, learned to budget, worked summer jobs at galleries. Yet I wonder now if these lessons truly sank in when contradicted by our lifestyle. When Amanda graduated high school as valedictorian, I hosted an extravagant party on a rented yacht in Puget Sound, inviting her entire class. She seemed simultaneously embarrassed and pleased by the display. "Was it too much?" I asked her later as we sat alone on the deck watching the Seattle skyline glitter against the night. "It's always too much with you, Mom," she said, but squeezed my hand affectionately. "But I love you anyway." Amanda chose Parsons School of Design in New York for college, and though it tore at me to have her across the country, I supported her decision wholeheartedly. I purchased an apartment near campus, furnished it with the best art lighting systems, visited monthly. Our relationship matured into something resembling friendship without losing the mother-daughter foundation. During her sophomore year, Amanda met Tyler in a mixed media class. Tall, charming, from a good family in Connecticut, he pursued her with intensity. From our first meeting, something about him troubled me, the calculating way his eyes assessed our surroundings, how quickly he mentioned my company. "He's really interested in business," Amanda explained when I cautiously expressed concerns. "He admires you." "Just make sure he admires you more," I replied. After graduation, Amanda established her own studio in Brooklyn, creating work that began attracting attention from small galleries. Though I offered to connect her with major art dealers, I knew she insisted on making her own way. I respected her independence, while quietly ensuring she had financial cushioning. We established a tradition of weekly lunches whenever I was in New York, which became more frequent as I expanded business operations to the East Coast. During these meals, I watched my daughter bloom into a confident young woman, passionate about her art, and seemingly happy with Tyler, who had become a fixture in her life. The engagement announcement came 3 years after graduation. Tyler proposed with a ring that seemed beyond the means of a struggling arts administrator, his chosen profession. His parents helped, Amanda explained when I noticed the 3-carat diamond. "They're excited about the wedding." I contributed generously to their dream wedding at the Brooklyn Botanical Garden, writing checks without question for the venue catering band Flowers. Tyler's parents hosted the rehearsal dinner at a modest restaurant, their contribution dwarfed by mine, though never explicitly compared. During the wedding planning, I noticed subtle shifts in Amanda's attitude toward money. Small comments about my excessive spending, jokes about my money is no object approach to life. Tyler would watch these exchanges with a slight smile that never reached his eyes. At the wedding reception, I delivered an emotional toast about unconditional love and new beginnings. Amanda embraced me tearfully afterward. "I wouldn't be who I am without you," she whispered. "Thank you for everything." I held her tight, unaware that our relationship was already changing, influenced by forces I couldn't yet see. As they departed for their honeymoon, a 3-week tour of Mediterranean art destinations, my wedding gift, I felt a strange premonition. Something was ending, not just beginning. After the wedding, our weekly lunches continued, but with Tyler occasionally joining. I noticed he steered conversations toward my business investments, future plans. Amanda began mentioning their desire to buy property, start a family, establish financial security. "You know you never have to worry," I assured her during one such conversation. "We want to build our own life," she replied. Tyler nodding approvingly beside her. "Not rely on your money forever." I admired the sentiment, not recognizing it as the first warning sign of troubles to come. The first indicators of my company's troubles appeared subtly. Market reports showing declining interest in our core products. Younger, more agile competitors gaining ground. Technology shifting faster than we were adapting. During a quarterly board meeting, my CFO, David, presented projections that silenced the room. If trends continued, we would face significant contraction within 18 months. I refused to accept defeat. "We pivot," I announced after reviewing the data privately. "Complete reinvention if necessary." My leadership team worked tirelessly developing new products, exploring untapped markets. Our primary focus became a revolutionary communication platform that could potentially leapfrog competitors, but development costs mounted rapidly. Initial investors grew nervous, requiring more of my personal financial commitment to maintain confidence. I began liquidating personal assets strategically. First the villa in Italy, then investment properties in emerging markets. I downsized from the penthouse to a smaller but still elegant apartment, explaining to curious friends that I was simplifying my life. Only Lawrence, my COO and closest confidant for 20 years, knew the full extent of my strategy. We sat late one night in my nearly empty penthouse, surrounded by packing boxes and takeout containers. "You're risking everything," he observed, concern evident in his voice. "Personal assets, reputation, security." "Not everything," I corrected. "The core holdings and Amanda's trusts remain untouched." "Does she know what you're doing?" I shook my head. She'd only worry. The situation is temporary. My plan was calculated but precarious. By appearing financially vulnerable, I could renegotiate terms with suppliers, reduce unnecessary corporate expenses, and focus resources on our breakthrough technology. Meanwhile, major assets were strategically tied up in complex holdings, inaccessible temporarily, but preserved for future recovery. The development team worked around the clock on our new platform. I joined them most nights, reviewing code, refining user experience, driving innovation with desperate determination. We were creating something truly revolutionary, but racing against time and dwindling resources. Throughout this period, I maintained my weekly lunches with Amanda, carefully presenting a cheerful facade. She noticed changes nonetheless. "You sold the lake house?" she questioned after hearing from a mutual acquaintance. "Without telling me, it was sitting empty most of the time," I explained lightly. "Just downsizing a bit at this stage of life." "And the penthouse, that's not a bit, Mom." "The new place is perfect for one person," I deflected. "Less to clean." Tyler's questions became more pointed. During one uncomfortable dinner, he directly asked about my company's market position, clearly having researched recent developments. "Just usual business fluctuations," I assured them, changing the subject to Amanda's upcoming gallery showing. Later that night, Amanda called, sounding worried. "Tyler thinks something's wrong with your finances. Is the company in trouble?" "Businesses have cycles," I replied carefully. "Nothing for you to concern yourself with. But if you need help—" "I'm fine, sweetheart. Truly." The situation grew more precarious when a major potential investor backed out at the last minute, leaving us dangerously exposed. Cash flow became a genuine concern, while substantial assets remained temporarily illiquid. I took no salary, liquidated my retirement accounts, and poured everything into keeping the company afloat until our new platform could launch. The Seattle Business Journal published a speculative article about my company's financial freefall, featuring unflattering comparisons to failed tech ventures. The reporter, whom I had once declined to interview, seemed to take particular pleasure in detailing my apparent downfall. I received Amanda's frantic call 20 minutes after the article appeared online. "Mom, what's happening?" "The article says you're nearly bankrupt." "Media exaggeration," I said calmly. "You know how they love dramatic narratives about women in business." "But they mentioned asset liquidation, stock devaluation, potential bankruptcy." "Come to lunch tomorrow," I suggested. "We'll talk properly." That lunch became a turning point in our relationship. I chose an affordable restaurant rather than our usual upscale spot, a decision that didn't go unnoticed. "So, it's true," Amanda said, immediately studying my face. "You're in financial trouble." I considered my response carefully. "The company faces challenges. We're navigating them." "But your personal money is partially tied to company performance." "Yes." "Why didn't you tell me?" Her voice held accusation. "Because it's temporary," I explained. "The new platform launches in months. Our problems will resolve." "But what if they don't?" I reached for her hand, but she withdrew it slightly. "Then I'll start again. I've faced setbacks before." "What about my trusts? The accounts you set up?" The question stung more than she could know. "Those are separate entities, protected." Our conversation was interrupted by Tyler calling, insisting Amanda come home for some urgent matter. She left looking troubled, promising to call later. That call never came. Over subsequent weeks, Amanda canceled 3 lunch dates with vague excuses. My attempts to reschedule met with increasing resistance. Through mutual connections, I heard rumors of Tyler discussing my financial ruin at social gatherings, positioning himself as concerned for Amanda's financial future. The final development phase of our new platform consumed my days and nights, leaving little energy to pursue Amanda's sudden distance. Perhaps I should have tried harder, recognized the critical juncture our relationship had reached. Instead, I focused on corporate survival, believing family bonds would withstand temporary strain. I was catastrophically wrong. The confrontation came on a rainy Tuesday afternoon. I had just returned from another grueling investor meeting when my apartment buzzer sounded. Amanda stood in the hallway, her expression a mixture of disappointment and resolve. "You need to be honest with me," she demanded, brushing past me into the apartment. Her eyes scanned the modest surroundings, so different from my former luxury, with barely disguised dismay. "How bad is it, really?" "Business is challenging," I admitted, gesturing for her to sit. "But I have plans in motion." "Plans?" Her laugh lacked humor. "Mom, everyone says you're finished. Tyler's friend works in venture capital. He says your company is months from bankruptcy." "Since when do you trust strangers over me?" The hurt in my voice was genuine. Amanda paced the small, living room arms wrapped around herself. "I need to know what's happening because—" She paused, turning to face me. "I'm pregnant." Joy and confusion collided within me. "That's wonderful news! Why didn't you—" "Because I need to make serious decisions now," she interrupted. "About the future. Security. What will be there for my child?" The implication hung between us ugly and undeniable. My financial status was determining my value as a grandmother before I'd even had the chance to celebrate the news. "Amanda," I said carefully, "your trusts remain intact. Your financial future is secure, regardless of my current situation. Tyler says we should verify that independently." Her voice had taken on a tone I'd never heard before, cold businesslike. "Given everything." "Given what exactly?" "Your poor business decisions, the company failing, all of it." I felt physically ill hearing my daughter speak this way. "The company isn't failed yet, and even if it were, does that change who I am to you?" She didn't answer directly. Instead, she revealed the true purpose of her visit. "We've spoken with Mr. Friedman." Leonard Friedman. My attorney for 20 years. The man who had handled Amanda's adoption created her trusts, managed our legal affairs with absolute loyalty. "About what?" I asked, though I already knew. "Legally separating my finances from yours, completely." She couldn't meet my eyes now. "Protecting my interests and the baby's." "I see." My voice sounded distant to my own ears. "And what did Leonard say?" "That you'd need to sign papers releasing me from certain legal entanglements, removing me as your heir in various documents. It's complicated." She pulled an envelope from her bag. "He explained it all here." I didn't reach for the envelope. "This is Tyler's idea." "It's our decision," she corrected sharply, "for our family's future." "I am your family, Amanda. You know what I mean." "Do I—" "Because it sounds like you're saying I only mattered when I was wealthy." Her face flushed. "That's unfair. You've always defined our relationship through money, expensive schools trips, gifts. You're the one who made everything about wealth." The accusation pierced deeply because it contained a grain of truth. Had I used money as a substitute for something more fundamental? Had I taught her unintentionally to value wealth above all? "When is the baby due?" I asked. Changing direction, she seemed thrown by the question. "In July." "Why?" "I'd like to be involved regardless of any legal changes between us." Her expression softened momentarily before Tyler called. Their brief conversation consisted mostly of her saying yes and soon before hanging up. "He's waiting downstairs," she explained. "He wants to get this finished today." "Of course he does." "Mom, please don't make this harder. The lawyer says it's straightforward. You just need to sign." I finally took the envelope, not opening it. "I'll review these and let you know. Tyler thinks it would be better to handle it now." Her insistence had an edge of desperation. "I'm sure he does." I placed the envelope on the coffee table. "But I'll need time." She stood, frustration evident. "This is exactly why we need to do this. You're being difficult because you can't control everything anymore. I remained seated, maintaining what dignity I could. I've never tried to control you, Amanda. I've only ever wanted to protect you. Well, now I'm protecting myself. And my baby. The verbal blow struck hard. I stood slowly, age and exhaustion suddenly heavy in my bones. Is that how you see me, as a threat to your child? Something flickered in her eyes. Doubt, perhaps regret, before hardening again. I see you as a financial liability now. The words hung between us, impossible to take back. I'll come back tomorrow with Tyler, she said, moving toward the door. Please have those signed. I followed her. Amanda, think carefully about what you're doing. Some damages can't be undone. She paused at the doorway, her back to me. For a moment I thought she might turn, might reconsider. Instead, she said words that shattered my heart completely. You're not my real mother anyway. You were just someone who could afford to take me in. The door closed behind her with terrible finality. I stood frozen, her words echoing in my mind. 21 years of love, sacrifice, and devotion, reduced to a financial transaction. I moved through the next 24 hours in a fog of pain. Leonard called his voice awkwardly professional, explaining the legal documents Amanda had initiated. I listened without interruption, then asked him to bring the papers himself the following day. When he arrived, his discomfort was obvious. Marie, I want you to know I advised against this. It's premature and unnecessary. But you prepared the documents anyway? He nodded uncomfortably. She is my client, too. I signed every page without reading them, my signature steady, despite my internal collapse. With each signature, I legally severed the connections I had so carefully constructed to protect Amanda's future. She'll regret this, Leonard said quietly as he gathered the papers. Perhaps. I showed him to the door. But that will be her burden to bear, not mine. Alone again, I moved to the window overlooking the rainy Seattle streets. Traffic flowed below. People hurried along sidewalks. Life continued its relentless forward motion, while my world had stopped completely. I allowed myself one night of absolute grief. I retrieved photo albums from storage boxes, tracing Amanda's journey from solemn-eyed 7-year-old to beautiful bride. I wept until physical exhaustion claimed me, falling asleep, surrounded by photographic evidence of a love that had proven insufficient. Morning brought clarity, if not peace. Amanda had made her choice. Now, I would make mine. The following morning, I arrived at the office before dawn. The development team, accustomed to my early hours, barely looked up as I settled into my usual spot among them. For 12 straight hours, I channeled my personal pain into professional determination, reviewing code line by line, refining user interface elements, identifying potential security vulnerabilities. You're particularly focused today, remarked Sophia, our lead programmer, as afternoon faded into evening. Nothing like a little maternal rejection to sharpen concentration, I replied, attempting humor that fell flat. At midnight, with most of the team gone, I remained hunched over my laptop when the breakthrough occurred. A coding solution we'd been struggling with for weeks suddenly appeared obvious, an elegant restructuring that would significantly enhance performance while reducing server load. That's it, I whispered quickly, implementing the changes and running preliminary tests. The results exceeded expectations. I immediately messaged the core development team, "We've got it." By morning, the excitement was palpable throughout the office. Our platform wasn't just viable, it was exceptional. Initial beta testing confirmed what we had hoped we had created, something revolutionary. Lawrence burst into my office waving his tablet. Koshiro Tanaka is flying in tomorrow. Koshiro Tanaka, founder of Global Innovations Fund, notoriously selective investor, with near mythical status in tech circles. We had approached his firm months earlier without success. Why the sudden interest? I asked, suspicious of timing that seemed too perfect. Apparently, one of his portfolio companies got wind of our beta results. He wants an exclusive preview before we go public. The meeting with Tanaka was scheduled for 7 a.m. the following day, exactly 5 days after Amanda had walked out of my life. His reputation for punctuality proved accurate as he arrived precisely on time, accompanied by two silent analysts who positioned themselves against the wall, tablets poised. Tanaka himself, small, elegant, impeccably dressed, declined coffee and came straight to the point. "Show me what you've built." For 90 minutes, we demonstrated the platform explaining architectural innovations, security protocols, scalability solutions. Tanaka asked precise, technically sophisticated questions that revealed his deep understanding of the industry. His expression remained unreadable throughout. When the demonstration concluded, he dismissed his analysts with a slight nod. Once alone with Lawrence and me, he placed his hands flat on the conference table. "Your company was widely considered finished," he stated matter-of-factly. "Your competitors are already dividing your client base." "Competitors often mistake evolution for extinction," I replied evenly. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. "Indeed." He opened a slim leather portfolio and removed a single document. "My offer." The figure written on the page was so extraordinary that I checked twice to confirm I hadn't misread it. Tanaka was proposing not just investment, but partnership infusing capital that would instantly stabilize the company while positioning us for explosive growth. "Why?" I asked directly, surprising both Lawrence and Tanaka. "Why this amount? Why now?" Tanaka studied me with new interest. "Most would simply accept." "I'm not most people. Clearly." He reclaimed the document, adding a note at the bottom before returning it. "2 reasons. First, what you've created has genuine potential to reshape digital communication. Second, I recognize the strategy behind your recent financial maneuvering. It was elegant." The word choice startled me. Elegant, allowing yourself to appear vulnerable while protecting core assets, creating necessity-driven innovation, accelerating development through controlled pressure. He inclined his head slightly. "I appreciate strategic thinking, particularly when executed under adverse conditions." The amended document now included additional terms more favorable than the original. Lawrence's barely suppressed excitement was visible despite his professional demeanor. "We have terms to discuss," I said, regaining composure. "Naturally." Tanaka checked his watch. "I've cleared my schedule until noon." By 11:43 a.m., we had reached agreement. Papers would be drawn up immediately, with the initial capital transfer occurring within 24 hours. As Tanaka rose to leave, he offered his hand, a gesture I learned later he rarely extended. "Your competitors declared you finished," he said. "I prefer backing those who refuse to accept defeat." The announcement went public that afternoon. Our stock price, which had been in free fall for months, rocketed upward, triggering trading circuit breakers twice before close of business. Financial news channels interrupted regular programming to report on what analysts were calling the tech resurrection of the decade. My phone buzzed constantly with messages from people who had recently avoided me, fair-weather friends, business associates who had distanced themselves, social acquaintances suddenly eager to reconnect. I responded to none. Lawrence found me alone in my office as evening fell, staring at the Seattle skyline now bathed in sunset. He placed a champagne bottle and 2 glasses on my desk. "We did it," he said simply, "against all odds." I nodded, still processing the whirlwind day. "We did. Shall we celebrate?" I glanced at my silent phone. No messages from the one person whose call would have mattered. "Not tonight." Understanding crossed his features. "Have you heard from her?" "No." "Will you call her now? Let her know?" The question hung between us, loaded with implications. Would I reach out, offering Amanda a chance to reconsider her brutal rejection? Would I attempt to reclaim what had been so casually discarded? No, I said finally. I won't. Lawrence poured champagne anyway, placing a glass before me. To knowing our true worth, he toasted, even when others fail to recognize it. I raised my glass, acknowledging the sentiment, but finding no joy in our triumph. The company was saved, my fortune not merely restored, but substantially increased, my reputation transformed from cautionary tale to visionary leader, all within 5 days of my daughter's rejection. The irony was as bitter as it was complete. In the days that followed, I moved through professional victory and personal grief, as if navigating parallel dimensions. I repurchased my penthouse, reclaimed certain meaningful assets, and conducted media interviews with composed professionalism. 1 week after the Tanaka announcement, I encountered Melissa, Amanda's closest friend since college, at a charity function. Her discomfort upon seeing me was evident. "Marie, congratulations on your company's turnaround," she offered awkwardly. "Thank you, Melissa." I maintained polite distance. "How are you?" "Good, busy with work." She hesitated before adding, "I saw Amanda yesterday." I kept my expression neutral despite my heart rate accelerating. "How nice." "She asked about you, whether I'd heard anything." "Did she?" Melissa shifted uncomfortably. "She seemed regretful about recent events." "Regret and remorse are different animals," I observed. "One acknowledges a mistake, the other accepts responsibility for harm caused. She's pregnant and emotional, and an adult who made choices," I interrupted gently but firmly. "As we all do." The conversation ended shortly afterward, but Melissa's revelation lingered. Amanda was watching my public resurgence from afar, perhaps questioning her actions. The knowledge brought no satisfaction. 2 weeks after the funding announcement, I received an invitation to accept a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Washington Technology Association, an honor typically reserved for retiring executives. The irony wasn't lost on me. At the ceremony, wearing a gown that cost more than my temporary apartment, had I delivered an acceptance speech that became widely quoted. "Resilience isn't about never falling. It's about discovering mid-fall that you have wings." Business, like life, tests not just our strategies, but our character. Recently, I learned that true wealth cannot be measured in assets or acquisitions, but in knowing your own value when others have discounted it completely. Afterward, a reporter asked directly about family support during my company's crisis and triumphant return. I met his gaze steadily. I discovered that family-like investment sometimes reveals its true nature only under pressure. The statement ended the line of questioning immediately. That night, alone in my restored penthouse, surrounded by evidence of financial success, I finally confronted the truth I had been avoiding. No business victory could heal the wound Amanda had inflicted. Money had returned, but what we had lost might be irretrievable. The question remaining was whether I could find peace with that reality. 3 weeks passed with no direct contact from Amanda, though evidence of her awareness surfaced occasionally. Mutual acquaintances mentioned her asking about me. Her social media accounts, normally active with art updates, fell silent. The gossip circuit buzzed with speculation about our estrangement coinciding with my financial resurrection. I maintained dignified silence, neither confirming rumors nor sharing private pain. Publicly, I focused entirely on the company's remarkable recovery and expansion plans. Privately, I began the difficult work of emotional rebuilding. My first step was establishing clear boundaries. I instructed my assistant to direct any contact from Tyler straight to legal counsel. Calls from unknown numbers went to voicemail. I changed my private email address and phone number, ensuring Amanda would need to make genuine effort to reach me directly. "Isn't that a bit extreme?" Lawrence asked when I mentioned these changes during dinner at his home. "It's self-preservation," I corrected. "The opposite of extreme." Lawrence studied me with concern. "Have you considered that she might genuinely regret her actions?" "Regret doesn't erase consequences." I placed my fork down carefully. "Would you immediately reinstate an employee who betrayed company interests the moment finances looked troubling?" "That's different. She's your daughter," which made the betrayal worse, not better. After that conversation, Lawrence introduced me to his sister Catherine, who had experienced similar estrangement from her adult children years earlier. Our initial coffee meeting extended into a 3-hour conversation that left me feeling truly understood for the first time since Amanda's rejection. "The hardest part," Catherine shared, "is accepting that you can't love someone enough to make them worthy of that love. They must choose worthiness themselves." This insight resonated deeply. I had believed my love for Amanda, expressed through provision, protection opportunity, would naturally generate reciprocal loyalty. The painful truth was that love, even decades of it, created no obligation of return. I sought professional support as well, working with Dr. Bennett, a therapist specializing in family estrangement. Our weekly sessions provided space to examine painful questions. Had I contributed to Amanda's materialistic values? Had my expressions of love been too entangled with financial provision? Was reconciliation possible without enabling harmful behavior? Forgiveness and trust are separate processes, Dr. Bennett explained during one particularly difficult session. You can eventually forgive Amanda without automatically reinstating trust. "And is that truly forgiveness?" I questioned. "Authentic forgiveness acknowledges harm done while releasing the right to punishment. It doesn't require pretending the harm never occurred." Through these conversations, I gradually stopped replaying Amanda's cruel words and started examining the broader patterns of our relationship. I recognized my tendency to solve problems with money rather than emotional presence, to protect rather than empower. These realizations brought grief, but also growth. Catherine introduced me to her support group parents, navigating broken relationships with adult children. There I found community with others who understood the unique pain of parental rejection. Many had stories similar to mine children who had viewed them as resources rather than people who had disappeared when those resources seemed threatened. "The hardest thing to accept," shared Robert, a retired physician whose son had cut contact over inheritance issues, "is that we raised adults with free will, not extensions of ourselves. Their choices reflect on them, not necessarily on us." These words became a touchstone during difficult moments. Amanda's rejection reflected her values, not my worth. 4 weeks after the estrangement began, Tyler made his move. His email arrived on a Tuesday morning subject line, "Clearing up misunderstandings." "Dear Marie," he wrote with artificial warmth, "recent events have created unfortunate tension in our family. Amanda and I would like to meet for lunch to discuss moving forward positively, especially with the baby coming. The Fairmont on Thursday at 1 Huzroom." My response was brief and clear. "Tyler, I appreciate your reaching out. However, any discussion regarding our relationship should come directly from Amanda. I wish you both well, Marie." His reply came within minutes, noticeably less polished. "Amanda is very emotional right now with the pregnancy. I'm trying to help facilitate healing for everyone's benefit." I didn't respond further. The message behind his words was transparent. Having witnessed my financial resurgence, he was attempting damage control, positioning himself as mediator, while Amanda remained conveniently too emotional to make direct contact. The following day, I made a decision that surprised even me. After consultation with my attorney, I established the New Beginnings Scholarship Foundation, an anonymous program providing educational support specifically for adopted children. The initial endowment was substantial, drawing from the personal windfall following Tanaka's investment. "You're creating something beautiful from pain," observed Leonard when finalizing the paperwork. "Pain either destroys or transforms," I replied. "I'm choosing transformation." As news of my company's successful platform launch dominated business headlines, Amanda finally began direct contact attempts. First came tentative text messages to my old number, which forwarded to my assistant. Then emails marked urgent that received polite professional responses directing her to my new contact information if she wished to reach me personally. Finally, she called my office directly. My assistant, following established protocol, inquired about the purpose of the call. "Tell her it's her daughter," Amanda reportedly demanded. "She'll take the call." "Ms. Thompson is in meetings all day," my assistant responded calmly. "I'd be happy to provide her current contact information if you'd like to reach her directly." According to my assistant, Amanda sounded simultaneously frustrated and uncertain when accepting the new phone number. She didn't call that day or the next. 6 voicemails accumulated over the following week, each progressively more emotional than the last. The first was formal, almost businesslike. "Mom, it's Amanda. We should talk. Call me back." The last, left at 2:17 a.m., contained audible tears. "Please call me back. I made a terrible mistake. I miss you so much. Please." I listened to each message once, not immediately responding. Dr. Bennett had advised giving myself permission to process at my own pace, to avoid rushing into reconciliation from lonely desperation or vindictive triumph. "When you do speak with her," she counseled, "be clear about what you need moving forward. Reconciliation without boundaries isn't healing, it's repetition." I spent hours drafting and redrafting a response, wanting to be neither cruel nor cavalier about the pain between us. Eventually, I sent a text message. "Amanda, I've received your messages. I need some time. I'll contact you when I'm ready to talk." Her immediate reply, "When will that be?" revealed she still didn't fully understand the magnitude of what had transpired between us. "I don't know yet," I responded honestly, "but I promise I will reach out." During this period of limited communication, I worked with my assistant Julia to establish clear boundaries regarding contact from Amanda. Julia, efficient and empathetic, understood the delicacy of the situation. If she calls distressed or mentions the pregnancy with any concerns, put her through immediately, I instructed. Otherwise, take a message and assure her I'll respond when able. And Tyler, refer him to Leonard. No exceptions. 2 days after my text exchange with Amanda, a package arrived at my office, no return address, hand-delivered to the reception desk. Inside was a canvas wrapped carefully in protective material. The painting, unmistakably Amanda's work, depicted 2 figures, clearly mother and daughter, standing with hands almost but not quite touching, separated by a translucent barrier. The background showed a storm breaking sunlight beginning to penetrate dark clouds. The symbolism was unmistakable, as was the technical brilliance. Amanda had always expressed her deepest emotions through art rather than words. This was her most authentic form of communication: vulnerable, honest, hopeful. I placed the painting in my office where I could see it daily, a visual reminder of both pain and possibility. Whatever happened next, this silent communication acknowledged truth reconciliation would require effort from both sides, and some barriers once erected leave permanent marks, even when removed. The painting became a conversation piece when Catherine visited my office the following week. "It's her apology," she asked, studying the image carefully. "Her acknowledgement, at least. Will you accept it?" I considered the question seriously. "I think that depends on what comes next." The cafe I chose for our meeting was neither our old favorite nor anywhere Amanda would expect. Neutral territory seemed important for this conversation, a small establishment near the waterfront quiet in mid-afternoon, with enough privacy for difficult discussions. I arrived early, selecting a corner table with a view of Puget Sound. The familiar ferry crossed the gray water under clearing skies, a visual metaphor I appreciated, but didn't entirely trust. Seattle weather, like human relationships, could change without warning. Amanda arrived precisely on time, her pregnancy now visibly evident beneath a loose sweater. She paused at the entrance, scanning the room before spotting me. The moment stretched between us, 5 weeks of separation, collapsing into a single breath. I didn't stand to greet her with our usual embrace. Some rituals needed to be re-earned. "Thank you for meeting me," she said, sliding into the chair opposite mine. Her voice carried a formality we'd never needed before. "Thank you for the painting," I replied. "It's hanging in my office." Relief flickered across her features. "You understood it then?" "I've always understood your art better than your words." The waitress approached, momentarily delaying the inevitable. We ordered herbal tea for Amanda, black coffee for me. Simple choices carrying none of our usual shared desserts or inside jokes about caffeine addiction. When we were alone again, Amanda placed both hands flat on the table, a gesture unconsciously mirroring mine during countless business negotiations. The parallel wasn't lost on me. "I don't know where to begin," she admitted. "The beginning usually works." My tone remained gentle despite the directness. She nodded, drawing a steadying breath. "I betrayed you when you needed me most. I let Tyler convince me that protecting our financial future was more important than standing by you." Her voice wavered. "I said unforgivable things." "Why?" The question contained all others. Fear? Hormones? Tyler's constant pressure? She shook her head. "But those are explanations, not excuses. The truth is, I revealed something ugly in myself, that I'd measured our relationship in material terms without realizing it." Her honesty surprised me. I had expected defensiveness or deflection. "And Tyler? Where is he in all this?" Pain crossed her features. "Gone. When your company rebounded and the truth about your strategy became clear, we fought terribly. I finally saw what you'd seen all along, his interest in our family's wealth, rather than us." She blinked back tears. "I asked him to leave 3 weeks ago." "I'm sorry for that pain," I said sincerely, regardless of my feelings about him. "That's who you are." Her voice softened. "Compassionate even when hurt." I didn't deserve that generosity. The waitress returned with our drinks, providing another brief reprieve before the conversation deepened. "I'm scared, Mom," Amanda confessed once we were alone again. "I'm having this baby in 4 months. I've ended my marriage. I said unforgivable things to the one person who has always been there for me." Her hands trembled slightly around her teacup. "I don't know how to fix any of it." 21 years of motherhood nearly overrode my careful boundaries. The instinct to comfort, to solve, to protect remained powerful despite everything. Instead, I sipped my coffee, allowing silence to create space for truth. "Not everything broken can be fixed," I said finally. "Some things can only be rebuilt differently." "What does that mean for us?" "It means I love you, Amanda. That hasn't changed." I met her hopeful gaze directly. "But trust is separate from love. Trust requires rebuilding." "I'll do anything," she promised quickly. "Whatever you need." "What I need is time, and for you to understand that our relationship can't immediately return to what it was." I paused, considering my next words carefully. "The legal changes you made remain in effect, for now." Her face fell. "But your company recovered. You don't need those protections anymore." This isn't about financial protection, it's about consequences and boundaries. You're punishing me. No. I kept my voice steady. I'm establishing that trust, once broken, requires evidence of change before being fully restored. The legal separation you created provides that structure. Understanding gradually replaced hurt in her expression. So where do we start? We start with honest communication. Weekly lunches again, if you'd like. Getting to know each other as we are now, not as we were. And the baby? Her hand moved protectively to her stomach. I would very much like to be part of my grandchild's life, I assured her. That's not conditional. Relief softened her features. Thank you. But Amanda, I continued, I won't be providing financial support immediately. Not for the baby, not for your living situation. You need to experience independence truly. I understand. She nodded slowly. I need to stand on my own, not just say I want to. We talked for nearly 3 hours, covering painful truths and practical realities. Amanda had savings that would support her through the pregnancy. She planned to continue her art career after the baby's birth, had already arranged a small gallery showing. She had found a modest apartment she could afford without assistance. I kept thinking about what you did, she admitted as our conversation neared its end. How you risked everything on your own terms, believed in yourself when no one else did. I want to find that kind of strength. You have it, I told her. It's always been inside you. That's what I tried to nurture, not dependence. As we prepared to leave, Amanda hesitated. Can I hug you, or is that too soon? I stood and opened my arms, holding my daughter for the first time in weeks. The embrace felt different, cautious, weighted with awareness, yet undeniably healing. One day at a time, I whispered against her hair. That's how we rebuild. Over the following months, Amanda proved her commitment to reconstruction through consistent actions rather than mere words. She never missed our weekly lunches, arrived precisely on time, listened more than she spoke. She shared ultrasound images but never asked for financial assistance, proudly showing me the nursery she had created through thrift store finds and her own artistic touches. 3 months after our cafe reconciliation, I revised my legal documents, partially restoring Amanda's inheritance with clearly defined moral clauses. Leonard crafted language ensuring future support depended on demonstrated responsibility and family commitment. When I presented the updated papers, Amanda read them carefully before signing. These are fair, she acknowledged. More than fair. They reflect where we are now, I explained. Not punishing the past, but structuring a healthier future. Amanda's daughter Eliza was born on a summer morning, entering the world with remarkable determination and healthy lungs. I waited in the hospital corridor during delivery, honoring Amanda's request to experience this milestone independently. When invited into the recovery room, I approached the tiny bundle with wonder. Would you like to hold your granddaughter? Amanda asked, her exhausted face radiating joy, as I cradled Eliza, studying her perfect features and sensing her absolute trust. I understood that love continues its own journey, regardless of our mistakes. This new life carried no memory of betrayal, no awareness of broken trust between mother and grandmother. She offered pristine possibility. She has your eyes, I whispered, recognizing the shape immediately. But your determination, Amanda replied with a smile. The nurse said she's never seen a newborn so focused. In the months that followed, and our relationship evolved into something I hadn't anticipated, stronger, in some ways than before, more honest, less burdened by unspoken expectations. Amanda developed genuine independence, building her art career steadily while embracing motherhood. I discovered the joy of grandparenting without overstepping boundaries. 6 months after Eliza's birth, Amanda set up her easel in my penthouse, while I held the sleeping baby. The familiar sound of brushstrokes against canvas filled the space as afternoon light streamed through windows overlooking the city where our story had unfolded. "What are you painting?" I asked, keeping my voice low to avoid waking Eliza. "Us," Amanda replied simply, "as we are now." I studied her face, focused, mature, transformed by both pain and joy. The daughter who had once cut ties believing wealth defined our relationship now understood that true fortune had nothing to do with money. The woman I had adopted so many years ago had finally fully become family, in the deepest sense. "I was thinking," Amanda said, pausing her work to meet my gaze, "maybe we could start a small foundation together for adopted children and their families, something to help them navigate the complicated journey we've experienced." My eyes filled with unexpected tears. "I'd like that very much." As Eliza stirred against my shoulder, I realized that our broken relationship hadn't merely been repaired, it had been transformed into something more authentic. The painful fracture had exposed truth that prosperity had concealed, allowing us to rebuild on stronger foundation. True wealth, I now understood with absolute clarity, was never about the fortune that had returned after those 5 painful days. It was about the courage to recognize your own worth when others cannot, and the wisdom to welcome them back when they finally do. I look at my life today and see richness beyond measure. A daughter who loves me for who I am, not what I provide. A granddaughter who brings daily joy, and the hard-won knowledge that genuine family bonds survive their testing, emerging stronger for having faced the storm. Have you ever experienced someone treating you differently when they thought you had less? How did you handle it? And what did you learn? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share with someone who might need this message today. Remember, our true worth never depends on our bank accounts. Thank you for listening, and I wish you relationships built on love that transcends any material value.